Unless you've been paying zero attention to the automotive world for the last 10 years, you will know that Fiat and its sister company Chrysler hasn't all been that proactive when it comes to electric vehicles. Indeed, the late Sergio Marchionne, former CEO of FCA, was so against electric vehicles that he begged customers not to buy the Fiat 500e electric car because he said the company lost thousands of dollars on every one made. He railed against California's zero-emission vehicle mandate, the very thing which gave rise to so-called compliance cars like the original Fiat 500e, because, in his words, automakers were being forced to make cars that nobody wanted to buy. But the dirty little secret of the limited production, limited market Fiat 500e that resulted from that very regulation, a car that was produced and sold from 2013 through until 2017 in North America, was that it was a shockingly good car. Sure, it was overpriced to buy, but with crazy lease deals that dipped below $100 a month in some markets, it quickly gained fans. Its tiny 24 kilowatt-hour liquid-cooled battery pack wasn't anything to get excited about, and its lack of DC quick charging options meant that it really was only a city car, crippled, I might suggest, by Marchionne's reign to ensure that it wasn't too good outside of town. But put the pedal to the floor and its lightweight body and 83 kilowatt motor made it an absolute hoot to drive. And when you're navigating the city, a fun, quirky drive makes up for a multitude of poor mistakes in the battery and charging department. Maybe it's why the Fiat 500e, for all of its flaws, became a regular export to Northern Europe, where today you'll see plenty of ex-US market cars driving around the streets of major cities. And maybe it's why so many of us in North America, me included, begged and prayed for the day when Fiat would do something, just something special to that tiny iconic car that would make it truly competitive and worthwhile in the plug-in marketplace. But that day has finally arrived, with Fiat unveiling the all-new next-generation Fiat 500. And unlike previous generations of the Fiat 500, the new version, to enter into production for launch in a few months' time, will only be available with an electric drivetrain. The downside? It's unlikely to ever be sold in the US because Fiat Chrysler pulled the Fiat 500 out of the US for good last year, and I really don't see this car changing that decision. Which, to be honest, is an absolute shame because, as I'm about to tell you, the new Fiat 500e, or actually that's just the Fiat 500, is everything we wanted from the first generation Fiat 500e and much more. If you're in other markets though, do follow on because this is going to be good. Stylistically, there is not a huge difference between the new 500 and what came before, but like the iconic Mini as owned by BMW, the Fiat 500 has a pretty timeless style that really doesn't need screwing around with, and that's okay because all of the improvements are where it matters, under the floor. Unlike the tiny 24 kilowatt-hour battery pack of previous models, the new Fiat 500 has a 42 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is quite an impressive feat considering how small the car is, and says Fiat will manage up to 320 kilometres on the WLTP test cycle. That is a massive improvement on the original Fiat 500e's tiny range, and finally makes this car suitable for more than just a daily commuter. What's more important though is that finally, after years of being told to, Fiat has put rapid charging in the 500. Interestingly too, the power level isn't quite as low as it is for some other cars out there, with FCA quoting a maximum charge rate of 85 kilowatts from the onboard DC quick charge port, a feature which is mercifully fitted as standard. Frankly, any automaker not making a car with quick charging as standard today really does need a talking to, including GM. When not using a DC quick charging station though, the Fiat 500 can also charge from a three-phase outlet at rates of up to 11 kilowatts, or charge at a standard 7.4 kilowatt charging station at home using the standard off-the-shelf charging stations. The motor gets an upgrade too, with 87 kilowatts of power doing the stoplight sprint in 9 seconds. That is a little disappointing if I'm honest, but whack in the 0 to 50 km per hour sprint time, which is more appropriate for use around cities, and a more respectable 3.1 seconds should ensure you're never feeling slow in town. And let's be honest, most towns have a limit of about 50 kph. Fiat promises we'll see various different driving modes as standard, with a normal driving mode, a range mode, which activates a one-pedal driving function, and a so-called Sherpa mode, which restricts power output in order to maximise range. But the last one is something I'm no fan of, as it restricts power and maximum speed to 80 kph, which is something I'd like to experience myself before passing final judgment on. Level 2 autonomous driving, that's essentially front-facing cameras, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist and an all-round sensor system, is included as standard. For larger vehicles that might seem like a de facto thing because it now is, but on a city car that's actually quite refreshing to see. And if you're a fan of the Fiat 500 convertible, you will be pleased to know this is going to be offered for the new 500 as well. As to the price, well, I don't have all of the pricing information yet, but the launch market pricing in the UK, which is what I have details for right now, puts the Fiat 500 La Prima, a high-spec, fully kitted out, convertible launch market only edition, at £29,000 sterling after UK government incentives. That's a far higher price than I would honestly like to see, but remember that price is for a range topping model, and it's likely a far more affordable Fiat 500 will come down the pipeline in a few months. How much more affordable? Well, I'd like to guess that we'll see something nearer to the low 20s, which would put it in competition with a Mini Cooper SE, a car that has also just launched with a similar range. Sure, the Fiat 500 isn't everyone's cup of tea, but as a small car fan, I'm glad to see Fiat finally put DC quick charging in this model. What I'm sad about, though, is the lack of US market availability, at least for now. So let me know below, if it comes to your market, would you be interested if it was priced right? Are you interested in stylish no-frills cars like this? Or do you prefer your electric vehicles to be bigger and much more tech-filled? Let me know below. That's it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.